3 years ago, Sergeant Michael Rivers kissed his wife goodbye on their wedding night and never returned. Tonight, in the middle of a burning desert battlefield, bullets tearing the sky apart, he has only one mission left: survive. But survival comes with a price. 2 brothers lost, a body broken, and a promise he refuses to break. Will he make it back to her, or become another ghost of war? The desert air reeked of smoke and ire. Sergeant Michael Rivers, just 3 years into his marriage, pressed his back against the crumbling wall of an abandoned compound. His rifle trembled in his hands, not from weakness, but from the weight of memory. Somewhere thousands of miles away, his wife Emily was waiting. He hadn't seen her since their wedding day, the same day he was deployed. For 3 years, their love had survived only through ink and paper. Letters stained by dust, tears, and hope. Every envelope he opened was a promise. Every word she wrote was the reason he pressed forward. But tonight, survival meant more than himself. It meant keeping that promise. Bullets whizzed overhead, slamming into sandbags and walls. The night burned red with tracer rounds. Michael's squad had been ambushed deep in hostile territory, cut off from reinforcements. Chaos reigned. The crackle of machine guns, the shouts of men calling for cover, the heavy thud of mortars ripping the earth open. Beside him, his 2 closest brothers-in-arms, Corporal David Harris, the steady hand of the squad, and Private Luke Anderson, the youngest yet fiercest among them, returned fire with desperate precision. Michael's voice roared over the storm. "We hold this ground. We hold it or we die here." But fate on the battlefield is merciless. David spotted a wounded soldier sprawled in the open, bleeding fast. Without hesitation, he broke from cover to drag him back. Michael shouted after him, but the crack of a sniper's rifle cut the air. David collapsed in the dust, blood blooming beneath him, staining the sand darker than night. His eyes flickered, his lips trying to form words, but only silence escaped. Michael's throat burned as he screamed his friend's name, but the roar of gunfire drowned his grief. Rage tore through him, and he fired back blindly, each pull of the trigger fueled by anguish. Yet underneath the rage was something colder: fear. What if I never see Emily again? The battle stretched on for hours, though time itself warped into a blur of fire and death. When the squad finally managed to push forward, retreating to regroup, Luke stayed behind to cover them. Michael yelled, begging him to run, but Luke only flashed a weary, broken smile. "Go, Sarge. You've got something to live for." And then Luke opened fire, holding the line alone. Shadows of enemies surged around him. The last thing Michael heard was his scream, echoing, raw, and final. Michael stumbled back into the darkness. His squad was shattered. He was alone now, alone with ghosts. Hours later, the battlefield had quieted, but silence was no mercy. Michael crawled through ruins and trenches, dragging his body through the dirt. The night sky glowed with smoke and fire. Every sound, a shifting stone, a whisper of wind, felt like death creeping closer. His breathing was shallow, sweat and blood mixing into his eyes. Hunger gnawed at his stomach. His legs quivered from exhaustion. He thought of Emily, her laugh, her letters, her vows at their wedding. That memory alone pushed him 1 inch further. In the silence, his mind betrayed him. He saw David's lifeless eyes staring at him. He heard Luke's laughter cut short. He smelled Emily's perfume as though she were beside him, a hallucination of memory that nearly broke him. But he pressed forward. At dawn, the enemy forces closed in again. Explosions shook the earth, gunfire cutting the air like blades. Michael sprinted across the open battlefield, bullets snapping inches from his head. His lungs burned, his legs screamed, but his heart pounded only one thought: I must go home. I must see her again. A mortar shell detonated behind him, the blast hurling him face-first into the dirt. His ears rang, his vision blurred, his body trembled. For a moment he thought this was it, that death had finally claimed him. But then his hand brushed against the chain around his neck. His wedding band, strung beside his dog tags. He clutched it tight. That small circle of gold was his anchor, his reminder, his reason. Dragging himself through smoke and blood, he staggered back to his feet. With everything left inside him, he ran, through fire, through silence, through pain, and finally collapsed at the extraction point. Months passed before he returned to American soil. The war had ended, but Michael's battles had not. His body bore scars, his heart carried heavier ones. He awoke from nightmares soaked in sweat, David's fall and Luke's scream replaying endlessly. He was alive yet haunted, but there was still Emily. The day came. Michael stepped off the train in his worn uniform, the station buzzing with voices, families reuniting. His heart trembled in his chest. And then he saw her, Emily. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she ran toward him. They collided in an embrace that silenced the world. She touched his face, her hands trembling as though afraid he might vanish. Michael whispered, broken but alive, "I made it home, and for you, only for you." Behind his eyes, ghosts lingered, David and Luke, forever lost. He knew the battlefield would never leave him, but Emily's embrace reminded him why he had endured.